Solving a system of equations with technology. Task 1, you need to rent a car, and there's two options you've been looking at. So Enterprise will charge a flat fee of $50 and, got a little funky with the formatting, an additional $2 per mile driven. Hertz charges a flat fee of $70 and an additional $1 per mile driven. For how many miles would it be better to rent from Hertz? For Enterprise, can you prove with mathematical evidence? So yesterday we looked at a few different ways that we could solve something like this. We looked at, you could write an equation, you could make a table, an input-output table, you could graph it. And so today we're really going to focus on graphing it with technology to figure out the solution. So let's start with an input-output table first. So first we have Enterprise, and for Enterprise, we need to figure out the independent, dependent variable, the input, the output. So the input would be the miles driven, and the output would be the cost. So let's say you didn't drive any miles, but you just rented the car, so it'd be $50. Let's say you drove like 1 mile, so it'd be 50 plus $2, so $52. 2 miles would be $54, and so on. Let's look at Hertz. Again, our input-output table, you have miles, you have cost. So we can see that at 0 miles, Hertz is more expensive, right? $70, just the flat fee. It's only $1 per mile driven, though. So after 1 mile, it's only 71. After 2 miles, it's 72. 3 miles, it's 73. It's going up by a mile each time. So we can see that right now, between like 0 and 2 miles, that Enterprise is going to be cheaper. But since Hertz is only $1 per mile, we know that eventually Hertz is going to be less expensive. Enterprise is going to be less expensive. Or Hertz is going to be less expensive. So let's take a look at how we can use technology to solve that. Now, in order to use technology, we need to write equations for this. So let's take a look at Enterprise first. All right, so Enterprise, what's the y-intercept? What's the starting value? And you can see it's $50. What's the slope? What's it going up by every mile? It's $2 per mile. So there's an equation that you could write for Enterprise. For Hertz, the y-intercept, the starting value is 70, and it goes up $1 per mile, so we can write 1x. You might also see that as just x. So we have our two equations, and we want to see when they're equal. So what we can do is we can graph this and see what that looks like. Now I'm going to show you two ways to graph this, one on our graphing calculators at school, so we'll do that first. So in our graphing calculator, we'll open a new document, and we'll add a graph page, and we'll just type them in. So f1 of x, let's make that Enterprise. So that started at $50, plus it was $2 per mile. All right, so we're going to graph it, and notice we don't see anything yet, so we'll get to that. And then f2 of x, I'll hit tab. f2 of x, we'll do 70 plus x. Now, the reason why we're not seeing anything is if we think about like the y-intercept, this y-intercept, I mean, the graph only goes up to 6.67, so we're going to have to change it so that shows our y-intercept at 50 for the first graph and 70 for the next, and it's just going to go up from there. And if you take a look at like domain and range, we have 0 right now, 0 to 3 miles I have for the Hertz graph, and then for the range, lowest has to be at least 50, and it just goes up from there. So we're going to change our window, thinking about a good domain and range for this problem. So we're going to go to Menu, and we'll go to Window Zoom. And there's a few different things right here you can do: zoom box, zoom in, zoom out. We're going to go to Window Settings, and let's change it. So we know that we're not going to have any negative mileage, but I'll leave it like -10. So I'll change it to -5 just so we can see part of that graph. And let's go up to, and this will be, again, number of miles driven. I don't know, let's go like 50 miles and see what happens. And then the y-intercept, again, we can leave it at -5 just to get a little below that. But we know that the y-maximum has to be above 70. It has to be above at least 73. So I'm just going to go up to like 100. And then we'll see what happens. Oh, and now we can see, so my blue graph was the first graph, starts at 50, goes up $2 every mile. And my second graph, I'm going to move this here, starts at 70, goes up $1 per mile. And again, we can see that they're going to cross somewhere. So when we answer these questions, which is when is Hertz better, when is Enterprise better, we can see that Enterprise is better up until this point when they're tied. And then after that, Enterprise is more expensive. And Hertz is more expensive for a while until they meet at this point, and then it becomes less expensive. So the question is, at what point are they the same price? And so we can go to menu and we can go to analyze graph, and we want to find this point of intersection. So intersection we'll pick. And then it says lower bound, so it just means go to the left of the point of intersection. So I'm going to go like somewhere over here. And then upper bound will go somewhere to the right of the graph. And then if you click it, we'll see this is our point of intersection. It's at 2090. So let's write all this down here. It says, okay, prove with mathematical evidence. So we graphed it. So here are our equations. And so the point of intersection is 2090. Let's talk about what this means. Remember, the input is X, and that was miles. At 20 miles, and the output was cost, $90. This is when the two plans are the same, and it doesn't matter who you rent from. So if you're going to drive 20 miles, you can pick either place. So then I ask, when is each one better? So Enterprise is going to be cheaper. Enterprise is cheaper if the mileage, and did I spell that right? No, I did not. Mileage is between 0 and 20. And then Hertz is going to be cheaper when your mileage is going to be 20 or greater. So I don't know what that end will be, so I'll just say when X is greater than or equal to 20. I can write it two ways. Okay, so actually I don't even need to put the equal sign because, oops, let's change that. Because at 20 it's going to be tied, so we can put this right here. So when X is greater than 20, and again if we check on our graph it was the red one, when X is greater than 20 then it's going to be Hertz, that's cheaper. And then when it's less than 20, so again I should change this. So less than 20, because when it's 20 it's going to be the same. So Enterprise is cheaper less than 20. Hertz is cheaper when it's greater than 20. Otherwise at 20 it's going to be the same. All right, so let's take a look at, this is fine, putting it in our calculator, right? But how can we do this if we don't have a calculator? And you could actually use Desmos. On your Chromebook, you can also download the Desmos app. So let's practice typing it in. I just went to desmos.com. I'm going to pull up the graphing calculator. And again, I could just type in. So the first one was Hertz, which started at $50. Or no, it was Enterprise. Started at $50, and it was $2 per mile. Hit enter. Again, we can't see it. We'll have to adjust our window. And then for Hertz, it was $70 to start out with. Oops. But then we added $2 per mile. And we have to change our window. So here we'll go to graph settings. And we change our domain and range. Domain is the x-axis. So I'm going to go up to, I don't know, 100. And then same for the y. I'll go up to 100 and just see what happens. Okay, so I can't see that yet. So I'm just going to go to like 200. Can I see it? No. So I'm going to go to 200 for both. Oh, that's why I can't see it, because I put in the wrong equation. So 70 plus x. Okay, there it is. So again, I went to, I typed it in. When you type in the right equations, we'll do 50 plus 2x, 70 plus x. We went to the graph settings, and then I just changed it to, I went up to 100. If you go up to 100 for each, it should work. But I ended up going to 200 for each, and then you can drag it around. And then if you click on it, you can see that point of intersection, which shows that the first equation, Enterprise, was cheaper up to 20 miles, and then Enterprise was cheaper up to 20 miles. Hertz was more expensive up to 20 miles. At 20 miles, they both cost $90. And then after that, Hertz was cheaper, and Enterprise was more expensive. All right, so today we did look at, can you set up an equation, plug it in, and solve. Your daily practice, let's take a look at that. More of the same. So it's, can you set up an equation and then solve. Let's do one more of these together, and then I'll let you try the rest on your own. So the first one, you are looking at buying a new iPhone 13. Verizon has 2 plans that will give you 5 gigs of data and unlimited text and calls. Plan 1, you can lease the phone for about $67 a month, and pay $55 a month for voice and data. Plan 2 is you can buy the phone from Apple for $1,000 and pay $55 a month for voice and data. When would you choose plan 1 and why? When would you choose plan 2 and why? Okay, so again, first step is I would start out by writing the equations. So the first one, I'm going to make blue. So y equals, so if you lease the phone, you have to pay a monthly charge, and then you also have to pay the $55 per month as well. So I'm just going to add these two together. So 55 plus 41,667. What does that equal? So that is about 96,667. This is how much you pay per month. So the input will be the number of months you own the phone, and the output will be the cost. So maybe I'll write that. So X is input. This is the number of months. Whoopsies. And then the output is the cost. Input X, output Y. Okay, let's see, did I add that up right? Okay, that looks great. All right, so then plan 2, your cost. Okay, so this one has like a starting value. Let's say you just pay for the phone. What's the y-intercept, the starting value? It's going to be that $1,000. And then it's going to be $55 per month for voice and data. So this equation has a y-intercept. It's 1,000. I guess we could say plan 1 has a y-intercept too. It's 0, right? You don't pay anything right away, but then every month you pay the 96,667. All right, so that does have a y-intercept of 0. All right, so now that we have our two equations, we could just like put in values of x and see when they're the same. But now that we know we have technology, we can type that in. So again, I'm going to show you both methods. First is graphing calculator. I'm going to open a new graph page and not save the unsaved, and then type them in. So the first one starts at $0, but then it's 96,667 per month. I'll hit enter, and then I'll hit tab and type in the second one, which costs $1,000 up front plus 55x. Again, we can't see it right away because the y-intercept's 1,000 and this doesn't go up that far. So we're going to go to Menu, Windows Zoom, Windows Settings, and so this is number of months. So let's go out, I don't know, 3 years, what is that, 36 months? And we can go and adjust this if we need to. And then the cost, I'm going to go up to like, I don't know, $3,000. I don't know how much I'm going to go. I'll just see if I can, oh, that was a good guess. We can see where they cross. You can also click and hold and drag this. So what we're looking for is when are they the same? Because paying $1,000 for that phone up front is going to be more expensive at first, more money out of your pocket. But if you're paying $96 a month versus $55 a month, eventually they're going to meet. So the question is, when do they meet? Where's that point of intersection? So we're going to go to Menu, Analyze Graph, and Intersection. Go somewhere to the left of the graph and hit Enter. Go somewhere to the right of the graph, hit Enter. And then we get this thing, which is in scientific notation. So let's write this down. All right, so I'm going to write down 24, comma, 2.32e plus 3. And then let's talk about what that means. So we will pop the graph back up. But here's what I got. Remember, input is number of months. Output was the cost. This is scientific notation. 2.32E3 means multiply it by 10 to the third power, which just means move the decimal place over 3 times. So if we do that, we can see that our cost right here, do that, is $2,320. So what this is saying is at 24 months, they'll cost the same, $2,320. So that's when they're tied. So let's take a look at when is the first plan cheaper. And the first plan
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So if we take a look, the first one started at like just renting the phone, so it was just about $97 a month. So that was cheaper up to 24 months. All right, so that was plan 1. Let's write that down. So plan 1 will be cheaper when the time is less than 24 months. When would you choose Plan 2? Well, it is when it's greater than 24 months. So if you're keeping your phone for more than 2 years, then Plan 2 is going to be cheaper. And there's two ways to write that. You can say 24 is less than X, or X is greater than 20. This is usually how I write it out. All right, so again, Plan 1 is cheaper if you keep your phone for less than 2 years. Plan 2 is cheaper when you keep your phone for greater than 2 years. If you keep your phone for exactly 2 years, it's going to be the same cost, $2,320. Okay, so the rest of the time you'll have to work on, I think it's just 4 problems, 5 problems. And again, it's just, can you write the equation? Can you type it in, find that point of intersection? Oh, and I guess I should show you again, how do we do this on Desmos? Okay, so let's pull up Desmos. So let's do the phone Plan 1 with Desmos. Okay, so again, let's just type in, the first one was about $96,667 per month. The second one, you paid $1,000 for that phone, but then it was $55 per month. Let's change our window settings. Let's go from 0 to, this is time. We knew it was 24 months, so I went out to 36 months. And then for the cost, let's go up to $3,000. And then again, you can see that point of intersection by clicking on it. You can see that at 24 months, the cost was the same. You can hold and drag it. Otherwise, you can see that Plan 1 was cheaper up to 24 months. Plan 2 was cheaper after 24 months. All right, so that's it. So we'll go over any questions that you have in class tomorrow.